Hey, 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 weekly wrap up live from the UK.
Live from the UK indeed. And it's stunning sunshine, about 32 degrees outside.
I think you're dreaming. I think it's raining again. We had a nice week, so we can't complain.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That must be the
So
sun.
this is my lamp lighting. Every time I move, I'm dark on one side.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
very good. Very good. And well, all recovered from jet lag. Shall we dive straight into the market? Shall we have?
We shall. It's been a very, very, very boring market. So I'm
Okay.
kind of grateful for that as I recover from appendicitis and traveling and jet lag. So hopefully this week, FOMC have announced that they've taken coffee out of CPI. So coffee prices are out of control, as we know. Like you can get a frappe latte double mochaccino with chocolate, and it'll cost you like $16. So it's like that's just crazy inflation. So they've taken that out. So that should bring inflation right down. And yeah, we should see some good figures, which means we might see some movement in the market this week. So
Yay.
let's jump
Finally.
into that.
Let's do it.
So we're still stuck under this resistance. We're trying a hard sort of challenge. Now, the pivots we have lower down, I'm going to put glasses on for those that keep writing in saying that I'm squinting. So 60,000, we've got two pivots here, 60,000, 174, and then 59. And our lower pivot, which is our previous low, is at 56, about 700. So we don't want to break that one. If we break that one, we're going into an alternate pattern, which I discussed last week, which goes much lower. So we don't want that one to break at all. We want to hold these ones ideally and then break these ones up here. So we've got two pivots up here, which is 66,151 and 67,519. Now this chart, it might vary depending on what exchange you are on. This is Bitfinex. I like to chart on Bitfinex because, they're associated with Tether, and normally their chart is fairly accurate. So, but we do get a little bit of wicks on some of the other charts. So it is looking, like we're going to get some momentum happening here. Ideally, what would be good is to come up, touch this pivot, retest down here, and then continue up. So that's the ideal scenario. So what that looks like with my squiggles, come up, touch there, come down, and off we go. So that's kind of the ideal scenario. We want that line to, sort of come up, take a rocket, take off, and break this region here, which is about 74. So ideally, we want to break that and head higher. We can touch it and retest and just continue, and this will turn into a WXYZ pattern. Currently, we're in a WXY. So, there's a couple of alternates that we can have in this pattern. That keeps it fairly bullish. We might just need a little bit more consolidation. Now, these regions are good and healthy for coins because basically they act for support and resistance or block order traders. These regions are what block order traders use to trade. So, and it's a very simple way of trading. So basically, you take the, the regions where we see the most sort of confluence, and you put a line across there, and normally the waves will go up and down between those regions. So yeah, that's kind of what is happening for BTC. Should get some volatility back this week, as I was saying, but it's all looking pretty good.
Excellent job. And Ethereum. Should we take a look at that?
Ethereum, where are we? Ethereum. So two patterns here for Ethereum, similar to what's happening on BTC. A C wave could be complete. And we normally always buy the C wave. And, you know, if we get a pullback here, you can always sell as it's coming back down and it breaks that pattern. But this could be likely to just continue through. If Bitcoin is not going into a WXYZ, then Ethereum will break through here and continue higher. If Bitcoin does go into that alternate pattern, then we will see the E wave on Ethereum. So, and that will just be a little bit more sideways down for Ethereum. We could see there is an alternate pattern that does retest the high here. But we're not there yet. We haven't even retested this region. So Ethereum's lagging a little bit behind Bitcoin at the moment in terms of movement and momentum, but still looking good for this region. So, yeah.
Okay.
Not much to sort of say because it hasn't really moved much this week. So it's a bit crazy.
Tricky. We have had a lot of comments, a lot of people requesting charts. Of course, only those requesting charts who are getting started in crypto members will get through to us. So I'm just checking those out now. But hello to everyone else watching around the world on Twitter and X, and no, on X and YouTube. Okay, let me just have a look. Yeah, did you want to have a look at some alts?
Yeah, let's have a look at a few alts, see what we've got.
Okay.
Because they're going to start moving this week as well.
Okay, good. I think you've got a couple lined up. There's another request for Jasmine as well.
Let's pull some of these charts up, see how we go.
Yeah, getting started in crypto members. Pop them in the chat here or drop them in the form on the weekly wrap-up page. We will have a look at a few now. And then I will jump over. Lise, when you're ready, let me know. We'll jump into some alts.
Yeah, so let's jump quickly over. So I just want to have a look at the DXY as well. So the DXY is in sort of a critical position at the moment. So if we start breaking some of these upper pivots here, that is not going to be good. That's when we're going to see that alternate wave down for crypto. So this first pivot is 105.7 and the next one is 106.6. If we're breaking 106.6, we're likely going much higher, which means crypto will go lower. So just be aware of that. It's always a good chart to watch, just to keep an eye on the momentum that's happening in the market. So that is always good. But being as we've got CPI this week, I think we're going to get a little bit of volatility back. So just be aware of that while you're trading and with tight stop losses. So let's jump into alt. So I think Atom is right in a position where it could be a good buy. It looks like it's got a leading diagonal in this pattern. So that just basically means we've got one more move up. So that's literally it's a really sort of interesting pattern on Elliott Wave where we get basically, you know, that sort of pattern, it comes back down and then takes off. So we do have enough waves in this pattern for this to be complete, unless this is a B wave. And then at this point here, it's going to break down. So that's the alternate pattern on Atom. But it does look like it's getting some nice momentum change happening. We've got bullish divergence. And our MAs are just about to cross, and this is a 4-hour chart. So that's a really good sign that we're going to get a next wave up here. And yeah, so it would be nice to see some of these patterns getting these leading diagonals complete and then continuing. So, and that's kind of what we're seeing on a lot of these patterns at the moment. So with a leading diagonal, it could either be an ABC or a leading diagonal. So we need to wait for that fifth wave to complete and then we know where we're at. So yeah, it's just a game of patience at the moment. Arkham, so similar, But this does look like it could be a B wave. So similar, it is kind of in that leading diagonal pattern, holding above. So I do think this wave is just going to pull back, retouch. So if we get 5 waves here, then that's a leading diagonal. If it's another sort of wave, if this breaks down at this point, which is about 2.2, then that is going to see correction down to somewhere about 1.5. So yeah, just be aware of that with this chart. So if we go to the daily, we'll get a bit of indication as to what this is doing. So yeah, so this could be a B wave in this region, and then we've coming back down to the C. So, and then that, so A, B, C down for Arkham. Quite a lot of these patterns are super new. So this one so far could be a 4th wave. So that's a good sign. And then we'll have increasing momentum. A lot of these, when they are a wave like 2, this could be a leading diagonal here and take off. So it could be a super quick correction. And that's what's happening with a lot of these new alts. So just be aware of that as well. And I think you said Jasmine?
Yeah, Jasmine.
Still got some stuff on it. I'm going to go up to the daily on this one because it's had quite a huge dip. But Jasmine does seem to be holding the 100 MA on the daily. So when we look to, I'm going to bring this up. This is the MACD. So although it's a lagging indicator, I do like to have a look. So we can see on the daily that the momentum is kind of gradually changing. It looks like we might have one more dip. We haven't had a cross yet. So when these cross, that is when the RSI crosses, that's when we're probably going to get a little bit deeper dip. We are losing a lot of volume in this region. So that is something to be aware of. When we do go down to the 2-hour chart on this, we can see that in the last little bit, we've had some extra volume entering the market. So that is going to be something to watch in the short term, because that basically means, there's a momentum change happening. So while the daily is like sort of going, okay, there's not enough volume coming in, these lower time frames, you're going to get some good scalp trades on those. So they're not a longer term or a swing trade yet. They're a smaller scalp trade. So you might get a 5 to 10% on these trades. And that's quite good when the market is like this. So let's just have a look. So we can see, we've had quite a nice sort of momentum down, and it does look like we've got an A, a B, and a C complete. And we've had a nice sort of, breakout here. But the pivot on this chart for the Elliott wave is 0.019. That needs to break for this to be bullish. If not, it could be a D and an E wave, as I've been saying on a couple of those other patterns. So that's our pivot there at 0.019. So if that can break in this range, then that's going to be a really good trade. It looks like it will test that region once this consolidates here. So a little bit higher on the low RSI. So this is only a 15 minutes. So this is what you would be looking at during like this low volatility region, just to sort of get the lower waves so you can do some sort of smaller trades and smaller scalps.
Okay, and then let's do 2 more, Theta and Sol.
Theta.
Theta and Sol. Whilst you are setting those up, let's take a quick 30-second break, and then we'll be back to do Theta and Sol.
And we are back. So let's jump straight into Theta. So this is one I think I might have done last week or the week before. So we have corrected to the 618. So that is also known, you'll hear people on traders on Twitter call that the golden zone. So the golden zone on Fibonacci is 0.65 to 0.618. That's what is considered the golden zone. A lot of alts, though, will correct to 786. So it's still possible that Theta might come down to that 786. The 200 MA on the daily is just sitting here. So because we haven't touched the 200 on the daily on a lot of charts, it doesn't always get touched when we're super bullish, but because we haven't gone into that strong bull run yet, there's a high possibility that we've got one wave down to go. So, but whether we go up and then down is kind of, we need to wait for Bitcoin to decide that this week, whether we're going to get a reprieve for a couple of weeks and then we're going to get one wave down. But I still do think we've got one wave down before the actual bull run starts. So, and before we go, parabolic. So I think, to watch this one, we've sort of like touched the pivot, hasn't convincingly broke it, and it's come back down. So, and it's sitting at the 618 at the golden zone again. So just be aware, it might be a good sort of thing to have some low orders sitting here on Theta at 1.62. And Solana. So Solana, for me, is still very, very corrective. Now this looks like it's the A wave. So for me, this is likely a triangle pattern. And this is what it should look like. So I think Solana might have a little bit more correction to go. Always buy the C wave because we don't always get the D and the E. So it's always good to do that. We're not at the B wave yet. So if Solana doesn't break 1.61, this pattern may change to a lower pattern. So it may be an A, a B, and a C coming down. So just be aware of that. And that will be in line if Bitcoin does those lower waves. So if Bitcoin goes sideways and does the WXYXZ pattern that I was talking about that touches the 74.75, Solana will go sideways in an A, B, C, D, E.
Okay, so essentially we're waiting for Bitcoin to move.
We are waiting for Bitcoin to hopefully come up and, touch this. If it rejects strongly at this point, we know that we're in the WXYXZ pattern. If it goes and breaks through, then hallelujah, we're on our way to the bull run.
To the moon, as they say. Epic. Okay, cool. Well, let's wrap it up there. And be back again next week. Thank you everyone for joining as always, especially the Getting Started in Crypto members. And any other charts or requests you had or questions, you know where to go. Pop them into the live chat inside the group. Otherwise, have a great week ahead, everyone, and we will talk to you very soon.